Hi everyone, Matt and Tom back with you. Today we're in Pendlebury, which is in Salford, Manchester. We've come today to have a walk around this area and a few of its associated villages to tell the story of a mining disaster that happened here in 1885. So we're currently in St Augustine's Chapel in Pendlebury in the graveyard, and here outside the chapel is a memorial to the Clifton Hall Colliery Disaster. So this memorial is a tribute to the 178 men and boys who lost their lives in the explosion at the Clifton Hall Colliery on 18th of June 1885. 64 of them are in this churchyard. So a bit later on we'll end up at the location of where Clifton Hall Colliery was. It's one of a number of different collieries that were in this specific location. So on the 18th of June 1885 there was a massive underground explosion. The ground apparently shook for half a mile. All eyes at the top of the colliery turned to the surface bell. The surface bell was connected to the underground, and obviously what the hope was that that bell would ring by the people underground to say that they were okay. But unfortunately, no bell sounded. At that particular time, there were 400 workers underground. The youngest was only 13 years old. It didn't take long for smoke to start appearing from the mine shaft. A number of men volunteered to go down into the mine. They were lowered 500 feet down in a bucket as the cages and lifts were suddenly out of action after the explosion. In the darkness of the mine, the rescuers found dozens of dead bodies. Amongst those still living, the miners were suffering from severe burns or choking on the carbon monoxide poisoned gas. So looking around the graveyard, as it said on the memorial, there are 64 victims of the explosion buried just here in this particular graveyard. We're finding some as we walk around. So for example, this one, William Jones, June 18th, 1885. This gravestone here has many names on it. The victims from 1885, June 18th, 1885, all the way down. Is that one full family pretty much wiped out? Gosh. So I don't know if you remember me mentioning at the start that one of the boys in the mine was only 13. I've actually found his gravestone here. It says Walter Barker, died June 18th, 1885, age 13. Gosh, we live in a very different time, don't we? they managed to get the cages working again so they could start to bring up survivors and victims from the explosion. And on the first trip they managed to get 62 people out and 15 bodies. But that hardly accounted for the 400 people who were underground at that time. Where were the rest of them? This one is a death at another colliery, Astley Green, I'm guessing from this area. So now we're on Lums Lane in Pendlebury, and this was the location of Clifton Hall Colliery. What was the colliery is now a waste disposal, a recycling centre. But there should be, hopefully, something here as a memorial. Let's see if we can find it. So this is where Clifton Hall Colliery was. Opened in 1820, but it had been closed by 1929. It's not a particularly pleasant area. People just come and dump all sorts of stuff, and it's very marshy. Yeah, very odd little place. I wonder if these hills at the side are covering up maybe what was dug out of the colliery. I'm not sure. Yeah, not great on here. These two pieces of artwork are supposed to show what Clifton Hall Colliery looked like at the time. Alright, found it. Here we are. So, remembrance of the Clifton Hall Colliery Disaster, which occurred at 9:20 on the morning of June 18th, 1885. 178 men and boys lost their lives in the explosion. And this is the site of Clifton Hall Colliery until 1929. So there we go, another memorial to what happened here. News started coming through from Agecroft Colliery, which was the next colliery along, that people from Clifton Hall had started to emerge from their mine. They'd taken the half-mile trip underground to escape the gas and basically emerged at Agecroft Colliery instead. 122 people came out that way. More volunteers descended into Clifton Hall, but this time not as a rescue. They only brought up bodies, and 168 people died at the scene of the disaster. 10 more died soon after from their injuries, which means 178 people died there altogether. So now we reach Agecroft, which is the location where the miners in Clifton Hall escaped from after going half a mile underground. Again, the colliery itself is no longer there, but there is a memorial to represent it. We're just going to have a little look around the graveyard here as well, and at this wonderful bell tower. So the bell tower here in Agecroft Cemetery is part of a now disused mortuary chapel. A lot of graveyards we've visited. On this channel alone you find these old chapels within the grounds. This one really stands out though. It's a wonderful Gothic structure. A few years ago it was completely covered by trees and foliage, so it has been rescued a little bit, and although I can't get in it, I have managed to find one or two pictures to show you what's inside. There is currently attempts to raise enough money to save it, and yeah, I think it definitely would be a useful thing to contribute to this beautiful building. Whilst we're in the graveyard as well here, just very quickly, it's going off topic at the moment, but in the graveyard we can find the grave of one Martin Ruin, and the name may not be quite that familiar immediately, but this is the gravestone of British wrestler Giant Haystacks. At an inquest into the disaster, the deaths were recorded as accidental. It said that the explosion was caused by the lighting of a candle in the mine, which made the dust from the coal ignite. The miners had actually been on strike in the 1860s due to safety measures not being taken by their employers whilst they were underground. Very, very different to as it is today. When they went on strike, not only were they just replaced by miners from other areas who became known as scabs, but also the miners who worked there even lost their homes if they went on strike. So of course naturally it was an incentive to get back to work as soon as possible. However, after the inquest it was decided that it was time to move from candlelight to safety lights. Perhaps the only positive to come from the story. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this area were lots of collieries. Currently in Agecroft Cemetery, and there was the Agecroft Colliery. We haven't visited the site of that today. Our final stop for this video is to head on the river towards the site of Clifton Country Park, and amongst the park we should be able to find the remains of Wet Earth Colliery. So let's head there now and see what we can find. So we've reached Clifton Marina. However, Tom's a bit disappointed. Why?
It says no boating. How can you have a marina without boats?
Ah. So amongst the trees in Clifton Park, we're hopefully going to find some of the remains of the Wet Earth Colliery. I must be honest, I've been searching for a while with not much success. So fingers crossed. Your fingers crossed?
Everything's crossed.
Fantastic. Right, finally found something. Look at this. Wow. So here's a part of the colliery.
Pony.
Pit pony? Oh my goodness. Look at this. This is really interesting. Ah, yes. So those are... Wow, that's amazing.
Locked.
Yeah. So we've got the pony here, which had obviously gone round and round here, and it would have probably been bringing things up from the mine. It's quite cool. Yeah. So you've got Tom there, just so you can get a scale of how big this is. Look how deep those steps go down into the pit. You can see just hidden away is the entrance, I think. So at this side you can just about see that is the entrance there. Amazing. Wow.
Stairs go right into
The stairs go right down into... Oh, I see, right. Okay, yeah. Wow. Who are your friends?
two happy Manx. Salfordians.
All right. Very nice. Oh, well. Okay. What are we going to find? Oh, well. Here we go. Right. Hmm?
This is a real I don't think that's some
Artwork.
sculpture that's been funded by the EU in the 90s.
Right.
That's real.
Something used in the mine.
But as a boat.
Yeah. Locked?
Got a COVID test here.
All right. How far in can you see?
Oh, it's not locked.
Right, look at this. This is the sadly locked, very rusted over, but that is the entrance to the mine. That's amazing. So you've got to presume that from the mine they brought stuff out this way and down this kind of brick built corridor. You've got the remains of the bricks at either side. Just above where we were there is this. Okay. It's a wet earth colliery. It's It's actually one of the first mines in this area, initially opening in 1740. Closed in 1928. Well, here's another piece of it hidden away in the trees. Well, okay guys, so that is our look at the Clifton Hall Colliery Disaster. Yeah, I think what touched me was seeing all the graves in the first cemetery we went to today, especially the 13-year-old. It just shows we do live in a different world after all. And then yeah, coming here, looking around Wet Earth Colliery. I recommend it, it's quite interesting, little walk around. But there's a bit of a walk between the two places, keep that in mind. Alright, we'll see you soon for the next video. Take care, bye bye.